Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Community Board 3, Health, Seniors, Human Services, Youth Education, and Human Rights Committee meeting. This is the monthly meeting, and my name is May, and I am the chair. Okay, today's agenda, we will have 3 different items, actually 2. One is a presentation from Safe Horizons, their Streetworks project in the Lower East Side, and they'll be talking to us about it and what they are doing in the Lower East Side as it relates to homeless youth. And secondly, we will be discussing and voting on our part of the district needs statement and also the annual budget priorities for fiscal year 2024. So before we start all that, I will hand the meeting over to Larissa, and she will explain the procedures and rules of the meeting. Larissa?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our committee. This evening, I'd like to advise you that the meeting is being recorded. If you are not a member of the committee, we welcome you to sign in via the chat with your name and affiliation, if that's appropriate. This goes toward our attendance sheet. During the course of the meeting, we ask that you please remain muted unless you are recognized to speak to cut down on background noise. If you are having any technical difficulties, you can also utilize the chat. Just drop a message in the chat, and I myself or one of our co-hosts will reach out to help you with the technical issue. Welcome to our meeting.
Hi, thank you. All right, so, okay, before we start the 2 main agenda items, we will take roll call for the meeting. And our secretary is out today, but Larissa will take the roll call.
Nice. Many hats today. Okay, so roll call. May Lee.
Yes.
Thomas Rosa.
He's not here. No.
Larissa Shainberg, present. Ana Calderon.
Here.
David Crane is absent. Eric Diaz, absent. Shirley Fennessy. Did I see Shirley? No. Deborah Jeffries Glass.
She's going to be absent.
Okay, Alicia Lewis Coleman. Laura Lugo. Heidi Schmidt.
She had a baby.
Oh, congratulations. I'll have to
Baby
drop
girl.
her a little girl. Oh, special. I'll drop her a little message. Arnett Scott and Carmen Perez. Okay, that completes roll call.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our first agenda item today will be a presentation from Safe Horizons. We have 2 speakers here today. Right, is it 2 of you so far? Is that correct?
Yes. 2.
Okay. All right. So why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourselves. That's I think it's a Carl. I'm sorry, Leo and Carlos. Leo Wilson
Okay.
and Carlos Safe Horizon. That's what it says.
Yes. So hi, my name is Leo Wilson. I'm the program director here at Safe Horizon Streetwork, located at the Lower East Side, and I'll let Carlos introduce himself.
Hey there, everyone. Good evening. My name is Carlos Rosario. I'll put my last name on there. You can see I'm the assistant director at the Lower East Side. I've been with the team now about 4 months, returning to the team.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'll jump right into the presentation, which will be broken up into 2 speakers, me and Carlos, and I'll be taking the first 6 slides, and Carlos take the second 6 slides, and then I guess after that, if you have any questions, you can definitely ask us. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, let's see. Trying to see real quick. Sorry, give me a minute. Just trying to figure this out.
Larissa, does he have share screen ability?
Oh.
You're muted, Larissa.
Sorry, I made him co-host. You should have the ability to share.
Larissa, I also shared with you our direct contact information if you want to share that with the group.
I see that in the chat and I'll post that for everyone. Thank you.
Sorry.
Believe he's on mute.
Yes, Leo, you are on mute.
Okay, I'm good now.
Good.
Okay, and y'all can see the screen too.
Yep.
All right, great. Sorry about that. Okay, so the program started as an outreach in the Times Square area of Manhattan in the late 80s. It was targeted to youth who were homeless, street involved, and high risk behaviors, which involved mainly sex work and drug and substance use as well. So basically, the goal was to meet the clients where they're at, physically and mentally, and try to support them in the best way that we can, which we still operate under this format today. We are committed to reaching out to homeless and disenfranchised youth, offering them respite from hunger, cold, loneliness, and fear, and the opportunity to reclaim or maintain a sense of dignity and self-worth. Our goal is to extend ourselves to these young people through our presence on the streets. Sorry, hold on. Okay. Young people through our presence on the streets, through the services we provide, and through the love we are willing to express with every meal, medical appointment, referral, condom, and group we offer. We communicate to our clients our concerns for their lives and our belief in their potential. Our mission is to act as a catalyst for their self-empowerment. So again, we just try to meet them where they're at, and try to support them in any way that they can on their goals. And goals can look different from client to client. As far as some clients, their goal may be to get an apartment, some may be to get a job, some may be to get off substances, and whatever the need is, we have the know, well, I don't want to say know-how, but we do our best to meet them where they're at and help them with their goals. We have 3 locations. We have an Uptown drop-in in Harlem on 25th Street. Of course, our location here at the Lower East Side, and we have a shelter also in Harlem. The basically youth shelter, so anybody 21 and younger could access that shelter, and also access the drop-in at the same time. So at the street work locations that are drop-ins, and some of this stuff is offered at the overnight shelter as well. It's basic needs: food, clothing, showers, and case management. That's anything to benefit enrollment, housing, vocational, educational, anything. SSI, we do it all here. Medical and mental health, outreach, as you guys know, peer outreach and education and outreach, psychoeducational groups, supportive groups to targeted populations. We also have, and right now we're looking for, but we also have on-site psychiatry. We also have a medical van that parks out here every other Thursday, and we do run groups as well. So we are kind of like a one-stop shop for education and also services for homeless youth. Streetwork Project opened the Lower East Side drop-in center in response to changing demographics and needs of homeless youth population. After conducting surveys to determine the needs of our youth, we started a weekly outreach evening at the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center for several years. In 1999, we secured funding to open Streetwork Lower East Side, providing counseling, case management, daily living services, such as showers, food, and clothing, wellness, activities, and groups. Our Lower East Side Drop-In Center received their Syringe Exchange Program, SEP, waiver in January of '06. Previous to this, we were operating under the Lower East Side Harm Reduction SEP waiver since 1999. Now I will pass it over to Carlos to continue the presentation. I wanted to ask, does Carlos have screen sharing capabilities? If not, I can just move the, oh, he does? Okay, great.
Yes, yes.
So I will stop sharing.
There we go. Now you can hear me. Sorry about that. Working on this mute. Technology. Okay. Our program model. Voluntary services. Our clients come to our site when they need the services. Sometimes they are working on things and they're in the site and they are just there for respite. So we're really meeting them where they're at. Let's see. We start where the client is. So we may think that we know what the client needs based off our own experiences, but we really just are there to do what the client feels they need to work on at the moment. Sometimes it's housing, sometimes it's healthcare, sometimes it's clothing, sometimes it's taking a bath or getting a meal. It really is depending on what the client needs. Our case management is one of the best case management in the state, I would say. We've housed some of the most homeless and runaway youth at this time. We've given the most emergency housing vouchers across the city. And we have really robust case managers. So we've done the most housing placement also. Right now, a lot of us know that there is a huge homeless epidemic. And we're working our best to take the youth out of the streets. Let's see, I can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is our model. This is our approach to working with the clients, the youth. It's a harm reduction approach. And that simply means that we are non-judgmental and we're working to reduce harm, right? Just in the name. So if the youth are substance users, if they are doing survival work in the community, we're engaging with them in education. We're giving them the tools that they need to navigate these situations. So we're doing sex ed education and within groups, either individual or within groups of community of 3 or more participants. We are giving them access to syringes and places to learn about different substances. So if they are in those environments, if they are partaking in those environments, they can protect themselves and learn how to step back. We have a lot of young people that are ready to stop substances, but because of the systems that they navigate is sometimes really difficult for them. So this is the definition of harm reduction. And I'll read that to you. And then at the end, if you have some more questions on harm reduction, you can definitely ask. So harm reduction is a set of practical strategies and ideas aimed at reducing negative consequences associated with drug use and other high-risk encounters. Harm reduction is also a movement for social justice built on the belief in and respect for the rights of people who use drugs, as well as respect for people having agency and autonomy over their own lives. There's different upbringings here, different backgrounds and experiences here. We never know why folks, especially young folks, are using substances. So our approach is to, once again, meet them where they're at and provide ease to care. This is what harm reduction looks like at Streetworks. Reality-based case management. We get youth that want to work on a number of things, but we are reality-based. So what we can work immediately, what we can do as case managers, as social workers immediately is what we tackle. And that usually is doing referrals to housing, doing referrals to pantry, providing pantry services on site. We provide also hot meal and shower services on site. So that's usually the reality check. What do we need at this moment to be centered and ready so that we can focus on potential housing or employment or even going back to school? Is based on confidentiality and trust. What we say in the space stays in the space. We are mandated by law to keep confidentiality. And we build that trust so that way they can share and we can then provide services. If there's no trust, they won't share with us what's going on in their lives and we can connect them to the robust services in the city. We utilize empowerment and education. So we do that on a one-on-one individual basis by giving them motivational tools, using language that builds them up, and education through either referrals, connecting them to reading materials, or the groups that we create that are led by our frontline staff. Easy to access and low threshold. Our participants, if they're not able to come on site and do case management, we are easy to access. So we organize Zoom calls for them when need be. And we're doing our follow-ups. We understand that our clients are mostly doing survival work and they're moving around to different places in the city. So it's super important for us to maintain a level of follow-up because anything can happen. We can see a client one day today, and then we may not see the client for 2 months. So we have a really strong follow-up system. And let's see, challenges. We also challenge clients to grow and make positive changes. That happens once again within our follow-up, and also we give them shout outs. Every time something is in their life that's working for them, we definitely big them up in the space to keep that momentum and that change flowing for them. Let's see. One of the essentials of the Streetworks project program is that we give our clients individual attention. So I shared that a little bit. Our clients come into the space. We immediately give them one-on-one time, and then they settle into the space. They eat their food, they join groups, and within all that time when they're in the space, they're able to come back to our case managers and re-engage them. So sometimes they'll start on something in the morning and they won't finish into the afternoon. And it's a little bit tricky to adjust to that, but that's what it means to meet them where they're at. It's like when they're ready, and it moves so much faster when you work with communities that are in crisis when they are ready, not when we think that they're ready. We make every effort to ensure that the staff develop relationships with the clients in which they can provide consistency and build trusting relationships. So our staff are constantly going through training and professional development. The managers are always engaging them, and we sit in the background a little bit. We listen to conversations when we're able to, and then in our supervisions and our one-on-ones with our frontline staff, we're able to give them support on developing their language. In addition to that, the agency itself has a robust amount of trainings, workshops that are focused on being client-centered, using the right language to get them to trust us, to share what's going on in their lives, and being trauma-informed. Not only looking at our clients and knowing that they are navigating systems of oppression, but at the same time, registering our own vicarious trauma, how we're affected by the things that our clients are experiencing. A lot of these experiences are very similar to our own. So ongoing training allows us to understand our own activations or triggers so that we can continue providing great care and support to our clients. And then in the end, to summarize what we shared, we have been in the game for about 30 years with the unique experience of working with vulnerable youth populations. So we're one of the experts in the field. And it's a process. This process is always shifting and changing. It's not a blanket process for all of the various youth that we come in contact with. Some of it looks the same, some of it is different, but it's always evolving, and we always have to evolve with the times, making sure that we're plugged into the systems that are able to get them the best care, the healthcare systems, the human resource systems to get them into shelters, to get them into nutritional services. Those systems are constantly evolving, and we have to be plugged in on the ground in order to continue providing the services. So we're always evolving too, and this is important, so that way we can learn what's going on in the community and we can continue shifting our tactics in approaching people. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that was a great presentation. Are there any questions from the committee or things you want to ask them or clarify with them? Please raise your hand and I will call upon you if you raise your hand, like your virtual hand. But Susan Stetzer.
Yeah, if any of the committee members want to go first, I'll wait. No?
No,
Okay.
no one's raised their hand yet.
Okay, so I have a number of questions, and we're voting on budget priorities tonight, so they're kind of informing my questions. So I know Streetworks has the DYCD contract in Manhattan to do outreach for homeless youth. Is this under the Runaway and Homeless Youth Program, this contract?
So I would have to check with the financing for that, but I want to say the last time I looked at it, I believe that it was underneath that
Okay.
contract. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I know from a previous meeting that I had with you and some other providers that you have your drop-in center on the Lower East Side, but you don't actually have resources to do outreach in our parks and on the Lower East Side on the street. Is that correct?
Well, I'll let Carlos take this one.
Yeah, well, so, once again, our services are 13 to 24. So those are the population that we're looking for. And we are doing outreach in the parks in the Lower East Side. Washington Square Park, Thompson Square Park is one of our major sites. And then the bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, there's two small parks near the Manhattan Bridge that we also frequent.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that, because 2 weeks ago we were told you didn't do outreach in Tompkins Square Park.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, Susan. So just to be clear, yeah, we used to do it, but we was going through a transitional phase where we had to phase out 2 of our peers. So while I was doing that meeting, which when I said it, we actually was in the process of hiring 2 more peers. So we just started, I want to say, last week, maybe the week before that, actually going to Tompkins Square Park because you guys raised concerns in that park particularly. So once we got the new peers, and they're not even fully trained yet, but once we got the new peers onboarded, Carlos and a few other team members went right out to Tompkins Square Park. And he did inform me and took some pictures of some of the stuff that was going on out there, whether that was syringes on the ground, used syringes, like that. So we are actively focusing on Tompkins Square Park. It won't be the only place that we service, but because I know you guys in the community have brought it up, and it's one of the areas that's closest to us, and we have to service that area. We are focusing on that currently, more than any other area. So just give us a few, and we'll definitely have all the resources and things that we need to go out there, including the fit packs that I brought up during the community board meeting. to really go out there and really hit the ground running. We also have an active peer who's in that community and knows people in Tompkins Square Park. So that will be helpful with engagement with all our new staff, because we have a lot of new staff. So yeah, so it's happening. It's just that it literally just started again because I was getting new peers on board.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you how that changes our budget priorities. So we need to vote for priority budget lines where we want to bring more resources into the community. Like, you have resources, do you need more resources? And, you know, so where does that stand? I mean, do you feel whether you could be paying, because I know with some outreach, they think that they need to, should be paying their outreach workers more, whether it's needs for your drop-in center. Where do you stand as far as the need for more resources?
So I'll answer part of it and I'll let Carlos take another part. So as far as the outreach team getting paid more, of course, that's always something that would be helpful. I think that we do pay them relatively well, and it's based off how many shifts that they work. So they can make a lot of money. That's neither here or there. So I don't think, at least for me, my focus would be on pay. I think the resources, if I can get it and if it was offered, will mostly be around products, mostly undergarments, and things like that. But I would pass it over to Carlos because he was actually the one who went out there on foot and seen some of the stuff. So let's see if Carlos, if you're willing to share, what opinions that you have on it, question or
Yeah,
answer, should I say.
definitely resources for our drop-in center has been a little tough to maintain a number of socks and underwears is basically what most of the community asked for. And there are particular tools that are used in our harm reduction work that because of the way we get funded, we're not able to access that. So that's been a little tricky. So there are folks that have been asking for particular kits that we don't have because we can't purchase it with the resources that we have. So that's a little tricky, but for sure, the community is really asking for undergarments and socks and boxers, just simple things like that, you know, our drop-in center has been a little hard to maintain a sufficient amount.
Okay, thank you. One last comment I'd like to make. So just to let everyone know, we had a meeting about 2 weeks ago in which we asked all the providers for Tompkins Square Park to come, and we had Goddard there, Housing Works, Alliance for Positive Change, and Streetworks. And you're all doing somewhat overlapping work and somewhat with the same people. So I'm just saying, I hope there is strong collaboration between all the groups. You know, I hope you don't work in silos.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that comment. I am in contact with some of them because somebody on your team or on this call definitely sent out everybody's contact information. So I appreciate that, whoever did that.
Yeah,
So,
we did that in the office. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am in contact with at least one of them. I'm gonna get around to more and find out everybody's schedules. We also gonna do outreach together, but we will collaborate in a different way where different days we'll be serving. So we're not, you know, it's not all clustered into one day or one time. So yeah, we're definitely working on a collaboration and things like that. I also have a question, if you don't mind, Susan.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that last time the community board meeting, a question that at first it was maybe wasn't received very well, but after thinking about it a few times, when I got home, I did kind of want to kind of unpack it a little bit. So I believe a young person that was on that meeting asked, what do we want the park to look like? And I kind of want to know,
It was our Parks
what is
Committee chair.
what do you think about that? Like, what would your answer be? Because it is interesting, because I do want to hold that I feel like I'm, you know, of course I'm doing the work and we're trying to make sure that everybody, regardless of what they're going through, we can provide services to them, but I also understand how living someplace, especially someplace that may be a little bit higher in rent prices, you wouldn't want certain things and the park and neighborhood. So I do want to know, like, what is the goal with Tompkins Square Park, at least from your point of view?
So so that was the Parks Committee chair
Mhm.
who was looking at it from a different perspective. And the meeting that we had was to have we wanted the providers there because we felt that there were many people in the park who desperately needed services. And the idea was to to find out what services were lacking, if any, and how to do this most effectively. So that was the goal of that meeting. There will be another meeting regarding the park that will also have police and parks people, more parks people and that sort of thing. And I think that may be something that will be brought up at another time, but I think there is 100% agreement that we need to offer services to people that need services. And I have one more question to ask you. When you have youth who need beds, and I know they have their own shelters or, their own shelters, do you always have a bed available, or is there a waiting list, a waiting time?
So are you asking as far as our shelter?
No, I'm asking for both, because this is what we want to understand is what are the needs for people in our community? So are there enough beds?
Okay, so for both. So for our shelter, it's possible that it will be a waiting list. We are a youth shelter with one location, and we don't house that many beds. And also the beds are allocated between male identified and female identified. So there's a chance that it will be a waiting list. Also, most youth shelters have a rotation period where they have to like rotate out and have some time out before they can go back in. So yes, there's a strong possibility that it will be a waiting list for our shelter. Not always the case, and it is done by preference. By preference, I mean age. So sometimes a lot of the younger clients do kind of take priority. But for the most part, there will be a waiting list. As far as like other shelters that are not ours, it depends on the age group. Again, if you are somebody who is past youth shelter age, and you go into an intake shelter, which is a Franklin or Bellevue or things like that, there is a waiting list, but it's handled differently. So you will be waiting inside that intake shelter until they put you and place you into another shelter. So you wouldn't be on the street, but that shelter that you're staying in for the night, that wouldn't be a permanent shelter. That would be a shelter that you're staying in until they find a placement for you. So it depends on the age group.
So I'm hearing, and I believe this, I knew this from before, but I'm hearing a confirmation from you that a need is more youth shelter beds.
More youth shelter beds would help. But I will say, I find that a lot of the and this is not just to service them, obviously, because there's more people in Tompkins Square Park most likely than just people who are using substances. But it would work. But I do find that people who use substances, especially people who inject, they they usually are over the youth shelter age. And also they do have a lot of trouble staying in youth shelters. A lot of shelters are very strict about what they allow and what you can bring in. So a lot of them won't allow that stuff. So if you get caught with it, and some shelters do search your bags, you won't be able to stay. So there's a reason why a lot of people don't want to go in shelters, because of how strict it is.
Well, that's why we advocate for safe havens and not shelters. But for youth shelters, it seems like youth shelters is the only model that we could describe as a need.
Yes, youth shelters is the best model, I would say, for now, especially for easy. It's the most lenient and easiest one to get into, and low threshold. And for the most part, from what I hear, relatively safe. People prefer youth shelters over going to the adult shelters.
Thank you.
You are. Carlos, you have anything to add? Any questions? Did I miss anything? Because she's also a ball of information as well.
Yeah, I think that was perfect.
Okay, great. Does anyone, other committee member, I have a question, but I want to hear from the other committee members first. I don't know, Arnett, Anna, Rodney, Larry, any questions for our guests? No, Anna just put on her camera. I don't know what that means, but no, okay. She says no.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no, okay. All right, well, I will ask my question.
Sorry,
Oh,
May.
okay,
I
Larissa, why don't you
apologize.
go ahead.
Yeah. So for your clients who you're following when they age out, do you have referral services for adult services?
Carlos, you want to take this one?
Yeah, there are a number of other agencies that are in the neighborhood that we refer to. Depending on, it depends. Like right now, we have some peers that are graduating. They aged out from the program, and they were doing the outreach. Like Leo said, we just hired 2 new ones. Our referral process for them is to connect with our partner, like Vocal New York, which is another harm reduction agency, and connect them to their peer services, because since they service an older population. So that way they can continue working and they can continue staying in the same community. Other referrals are potentially like shelters and other drop-in centers.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is just a little bit more about the people that you serve, or maybe more, and then you may not directly serve them, but this youth population that, this youth group that we're talking about. So, could you say like what ages they are primarily? I mean, it's 13 to 24, I know, but is there like a major age group? Their genders and also their race, just a little bit about that. And then the second thing is, have you noticed any, have there been just any changes or trends in terms of who they are or what they need, especially in the last 2 to 3 years and, maybe as a result of the pandemic?
Okay. So I would say on average, the age would be early 20s. We do not get a lot of youth under, like at an age, because, once you're under 18, we have to contact ACS. So we don't get a lot of clients under that age. Most of them between like 21 and 23. And as far as demographic, it's kind of all over and really just depends on it depends. Like right now, we have more male clients, I believe, than we do female identified clients. And we also, it really is all over the place. We can have somebody from Russia, we can have somebody from London, we have people from the Bronx, from Brooklyn. It varies. The demographic is kind of like scattered. I would say as far as the needs and trends, I believe is what you're asking for. I do want to say that the pandemic really put a hit on our location particularly. I know a lot of drop-in centers took a little bit of a dip, but ours really took a big dip. So we used to see a lot of clients at once, especially for our space. We do not see as many clients as we used to see. We do not we do not have any more traveler kids, which is the kids who usually jump on the freight trains from like California and cross country and come over here for the warmer weather and then leave when it gets cold and go back over there. We don't see any more of them. So we kind of like the pandemic kind of like, we also just, a lot of clients just haven't came back since that. It looks like before the pandemic, we had a lot of services that were all over the place. So a lot of Hep C treatment, a lot of psychiatry treatment, prescriptions written, psychosocial, psych evals, and a lot of mental health stuff, and a lot of substance use things, services. And now it seems like everybody that we have is more or less housing. Everybody's trying to get housing and vouchers and ESV vouchers. So everybody now that we have, and for on both sites, I would say, is mostly trying to move into apartments. Whereas before, there was a lot of clients that we had that didn't really have an interest in an apartment because they wasn't going to stay in New York anyway. They just wanted some services, and then they was going to go to Minnesota. They was going to go travel. But we don't have that anymore. A lot of it is just like trying to get into housing. Carlos, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you summed it up. Right now, honestly, is really mixed. I am returning back to the agency. I got an opportunity for summer youth employment when I was 16, and I started with the agency. And the population at that time I saw a lot more female identified folks. I saw a lot more POC folks. But right now it's really mixed, our youth population, and definitely in the 18 to 21 range, we're seeing more of that population.
Okay. And you said that there was that when you said your site took a hit after the pandemic for different reasons. Do you mean the Essex Street one?
Both sites took a hit, but the Essex Street site took the biggest hit because our location is smaller. We're less known as far as like being seen. We're less seen, and we also have a lot of site problems and issues as far as our space. So not only the pandemic, we wasn't closed during the pandemic, but we was only passing services out through the front door and via the phone. So that made us take a hit. And then also we were closed sometimes because we would have space issues, whether that would be issues with air or flooding or gate shutters being broken or like HVAC unit not working. So a lot of stuff kind of closed us. And if you are a homeless youth and you go to a place for services and you also don't have no contact, a phone or email to contact us to see if we're open and closed, people just stop showing up. So we took a hit. So now we're in like a rebuilding stage, and we're hoping to get some of the youth from Tompkins Square Park, among other places on outreach, to actually come in and get some services and get some shelter and everything else that they need. But yeah, I appreciate your question.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we wanted to know.
Anna has her hand up.
Hi, how you doing? I just want to, but isn't it a good thing that people are not coming back? I mean, is it because of the office being closed or because they already received help? They already have help?
I appreciate that, Anna. Yeah, it depends. It could be a good thing. The goal is, at least for me in my mind, and probably you're thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. If somebody is housed, then it should be almost like, okay, like you don't have to come back unless you feel like you need to say hi and stuff like that. However, that's not the case. So working in this field, I started out as a front desk person at the front desk all the way up to a program director. So I work almost every job here. So I say that to say this, in my time as a case management, I found that when you get somebody who is homeless and who's been living nomadically for maybe since they was 15, 16, 17 years old, and now they get an apartment at 24 or 22, there's a whole other set of skill sets that they just don't have. So once they move into an apartment, now they're trying to figure out, do I have Con Ed? How do I pay Con Ed? How do I manage my money? How do I get resources for food? It's like even it's something as simple as asking your guests to leave. Like, all right, I have guests over at my house and now they live here. They don't want to leave. And I don't know how to ask them to leave because we were all homeless together and they had my back when I was on the street. And now it's really hard for me to say, hey, I need you to leave my apartment because you're going to get me kicked out because my landlord says I'm not supposed to have 6 people living here. So we find that like actually when people leave to move out, they need more services. It's just different.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. And anyone else? If so, raise your hand. If not, we will be moving on.
May I just ask a
yes,
quick question?
Paul.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming on tonight. Just a quick question. For your drop-in center at Essex Street, how many caseworkers or case managers that you employ? at that specific site?
Okay, so I feel like I've been hogging the mic, so I'm definitely gonna have my partner Carlos answer all the information about how many employees we have at our
Yeah,
site.
right now, we have one active case manager. We're about to hire a second one. We have, let's see, two youth service organizers in the space, and they manage our drop-in space and our front desk harm reduction services. We have a chef on site, a wonderful chef on site, by the way. And let's see, and now we're about to start having our sexual health team from Harlem come down to the site twice a month, and they'll be supporting with HIV testing and engaging the clients with more like sexual health services and education. But case management specifically, we have one powerful case manager, and we're working to hire two more.
Okay, that's good to know, because I think, thinking about budget priorities and what kind of funding does a place like your organization need, or something like that we can advocate for, or anything like that, would be also helpful. Susan has her hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say on the same line, thinking, having the sexual health twice a month, don't you really need it more than that? Shouldn't, if you had money, wouldn't it be good to have more than twice a month?
So I would say that there's a few things that's preventing it. One, we do not have a lot of clients who come in the space. So yes, if it was like it was before the pandemic, it would be ideal. And we did, when it was like we had a lot of people, a lot of clients, the sexual health team did come more than twice a month. And then as far as having a sexual health team here on site, we have a really, really small space. We just don't have enough office space to have a sexual health team. And that's something that definitely needs to be taking place in the office. And we barely have enough office spaces for the people that we have currently. So we are looking for a bigger space. So that's in the works. So that will also increase how many staff members we can have on site. But yeah, as of now, because we only see a few a day, we're gonna have them come down maybe not so often. But the goal is to increase the volume of clients and also get a better space so we can have those services readily available all the time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Arnett?
Hi. I think I have two questions. One, with the outreach, have you guys start to reimagine how to do how you would do outreach, being that it seems like the particular population, the transient population, has not picked up, so you don't see the you don't have the population or the need for that particular group of people, the transient from moving across the states and all that good stuff. So have you thought about reimagining what outreach will look, and how that would play into the population currently on the Lower East Side, and also in looking into your space issue? Are you planning on keeping an office here on the Lower East Side, or when you're looking for spaces, are you looking outside the Lower East Side in order to have more room?
Okay, so I'll answer one half and I'll let Carlos answer the other half. So Arnett, I'm hoping that you're saying that because you want us to stay in the Lower East Side. That's what I'm hoping.
Yes, I do. I do.
Yes, we are. Lower East Side is priority. That's what we're looking at. That's what we were looking at before. So we're trying to stay in the Lower East Side for sure. That's one. And then after this, I'll pass it over to Carlos. The next thing is outreach for us is not necessarily just harm reduction. It's also just like the socks and the underwear and the soap and things like that. So even though we might not have, or it may not seem like the clients that we have interactions with on outreach are in need of the services that we typically provide, we still provide other services that I think that those clients need. So I will pass over to Carlos so he can give you more detail on what the outreach looks like currently.
Yeah, so we're doing some shifts. We just hired 2 new peers. We hired with the intention of one, locating new sites in the area that young people are frequenting, and 2, people with direct experience, so that way they can connect with the community. So we just hired 2 new folks. One for sure has a good amount of friends and connections to Thompson Square Park. So we're kind of excited about that they're going to be engaging their own community and bringing them in. In addition to that, we are now doing more active work in creating collaboration with other organizations in the area, because we are servicing youth specifically. Not a lot of other organizations are doing the same work. So as opposed to overlapping, hitting the same areas, we're talking to each other more. If they're seeing youth, the goal is for them to connect those youth to us, and vice versa. When we're seeing the adults that we don't provide services, that we can't provide services to, we're making those referrals there. So that's our goal, is to develop stronger relationships with our peers that are doing harm reduction services and the work similar, so that way it doesn't feel like we're competing. You know, that's one of the things that happens in the nonprofit world. So everybody kind of gets a competition edge, and sometimes you get lost in the work, and you don't provide the service. The service is communication and connecting folks to resources. So we're doing a lot more of that, and especially thanks to your help and inviting providers to Thompson.
All right.
Looks like that's it.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I think we're done. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for coming. You know, I was very interested. You know, and we're on Zoom, but I still found it very interesting, which is, you know, so we have any additional questions or things? I'm sure you gave us your contact information. I know Susan has it, so we'll be able to, you know, keep in touch. And I think Susan probably wants to keep in touch in the future, right? Especially around the service coordination.
Right, and please reach out to us if there's any way we can help in any way.
All right. Okay.
I've also dropped the information in the chat if anybody else wants to copy that down.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So we're going to move on to our next agenda item. Leo and Carlos, you are welcome to stay, but of course you're free to go and get on with, you know, the rest of your evening. Okay.
Thank you so much. We'll see you again. Thank you.
Okay. We'll see you again.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. I'm sorry. I've been in the office really early, so I'm still here. So I'm going to leave. I appreciate y'all. Can't wait to show up to the next meeting. Everybody have a good evening.
Okay. You too. Thank you. Okay, guys. So our next agenda item will be district needs. Oh, okay. Before we get on to next, we have to move back a little bit. We took the roll call, but are there any changes to the minutes that were emailed to you? If there are none, then they are deemed approved. So this is for everybody who was at the last meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I guess, okay, so the minutes of the last meeting are approved. Okay, so now we're going to look at district needs. So that was also emailed to you earlier in the week. It is our annual district needs statement. It's not the whole district needs statement for the community board, but it is our human services section of it. I hope that people have read it at least once or skimmed through it. Susan, did you want to give some context or an introduction to it and what it is about?
So
because we have many new members here today.
Yeah, so I hope we're not starting over on this. We started discussing district needs in June. This is a statement of, you know, it's assessment of what we have and what we need. It has to be documented. We have a lot of citations in there. If there were things we couldn't find citations for, we took them out. This is for planning for a year from now. It's for fiscal year 24, which is a year from this July. This district needs has been gone over thoroughly. by the committee. There was more information requested. We tried, and some of the members sent in the information, so that's all been put in. We looked for citations, and some of the members, particularly Carmen, helped a lot with that. So basically, this is a fill-in and cleanup of what we did in June and July. And if anyone has any more questions about what the district needs statement is, and I want to say it's not like a white paper about the community boards. It's supposed to be succinct and kind of bulleted as much or brief as much as possible so that the needs themselves stand out. And I don't know if there's any questions. And we also, you haven't seen the appendix. We now have the appendix ready, and we put information in the appendix like we have every school in Community Board 3 with its age, when it was built, and if there have been alterations. It's shocking. The average age of our schools is 79 years old, which I thought was rather shocking. So I don't know, does anyone have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to make a statement quickly. I just want everyone to be aware and be thankful and be extremely grateful for the amount of work the office has put in to getting the district needs statement overall for not just this committee, but any committee that has a portion of it and what you're about to hear in the budget priorities as well. So they put in a lot of work. Susan, Drew, and everyone in that office that has done a lot of work and put in a lot of hours researching and finding out information. So whatever you've read and put in information wise, I appreciate that. And tonight, I hope everything is stamped out and done correctly. And I just want to remind May that you do not have quorum tonight. So this is probably not going to get officially voted on tonight, and probably will have to wait for full board.
But we're voting, but
We don't have quorum.
You don't.
but you need to vote and have it moved at the full board.
It'll be moved at the full board, correct?
Okay, so the procedure is we vote
Yes.
today anyway?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes, and just note that there's not a quorum.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right, but yeah, I just want to make that very clear that the office put in a lot of work. May's put in a lot of work on this, and I just want to express my thanks as chair and for everyone on behalf of the board for the work they've done. So
Yeah,
I'm-
also, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, finish, Paul.
I'm done. I'm actually
Okay.
going to sign off. I'm waiting for my dinner to show up. I apologize, guys.
Okay, yeah, so I just also want to note it is, sometimes we just like to put stuff in, but it is very important because it was very important to us this year. I mean, a lot of people look at it. Sometimes, funders, like even private funders, they just want to know, sort of about the area, and then they look at it. This year, I think we had, the homeless shelter issues was a big, controversy in our community. And sometimes the reporters look to we pointed them to our district needs statement to say, they actually like quoted like the statement in there or referred to it in their newspaper articles, in order to, sort of document some need, for the shelters. So it is, so the research and the accuracy of it is very important. That's what we try to strive for. And it is just like a statement of need. It's not like a statement of policy, which is another thing. Okay. So if there are no other outstanding questions and if people have read this, do you think that we could vote on it? As Paul said, we don't have quorum, so we would vote on it today and then it would be moved at full board.
You could do it with the budget priorities if you want.
Okay, let's do it all together. Okay, that would save us more time.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's look at the budget priorities. Now, I'm sorry, I just emailed it to you like at 4 o'clock today. So we will maybe walk you through it.
You want me to put that in context also?
Yes.
Okay,
Does
thanks.
everyone have it in front of them, the budget priorities? Like,
Maybe
can
you want to
open it?
screen
Yeah,
share with them?
I can share that. Let me pull that up. Give
Okay.
me just a moment. I've got quite a few papers open here.
I think it's called Draft FY24 Budget Priorities.
Thank you.
I can actually start
I
talking
have it.
about it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
While you're doing that. So again, this is for fiscal year 24. So we're looking at budget priorities for a year from this July. And one reason it's more important to consider that this year is because this current year is the last year of a lot of the federal money we had from COVID. So we're going to be in a different situation next July. So I've done two things on this list. First, at the very bottom of the list, I've taken the all the budget priorities in order that the committee voted on last year. And in red below them, I wrote what the agency's response was, which is sometimes kind of laughable, and we can talk about that as we get to them. Also, at the top of the list, we had budget consultations with different agencies. We had 3 days of consultations. May was able to come to some of them. And we met with Department for Youth, DYCD, Children's Services, Department of Homeless Services, and Human Resources Administration, and basically talk to them about what was funded, what wasn't funded. The administration tends to want to say everything's wonderful and we have everything we need, but we try with our questions to pull out what's needed. Now, when we vote for budget priorities, the object is to get more money into our community. So if we have like a great program, but it's fully funded, we're not going to make that a budget priority because we already have that money. There's another program that may be needed in our community. It may not be as important, but it's still needed, but it doesn't have enough money. So that might be a higher rank, and we're ranking these by priority. So the issue is to find priorities that are needed in our community that need the resources. The whole board has 25 expense priorities. Human Services always has the most of any committee. I think we had up to 13 last year, and we would have had more, but after 25, they drop off the list. So we rank them, each committee ranks their order at the end, then the committees, the full board actually collates all the committees together. So they may interweave it. So your two you may have like priority number 2, and then priority number 3 may be number 7 on the list because there may be some from other committees. However, when we collate them, we never change the order that the committee ranked them. So if I could maybe just go through some of the bullets on the top from the meetings. Summer youth employment is always a tremendously important.
Oh, it's now at the bottom of the page, guys. So I sort of switched it around. I put all because we look at things backwards from the way you look at it, Susan. Okay, so or you look at it backwards from us. So the way we look at it is that we look at last year's expense, the priorities we're looking at, and then the notes from the budget is like current from. You're talking about the notes from the.
Some of them are the same programs, you know, so you might have like summer youth employment is both in last year's priorities and a bulleted item in this one.
Yeah. So the way I put it, all of last year's priorities are listed, the 1 to 13. And then after that, the notes from the budget meetings, which may or may not refer to the budget priorities.
Right. Is it okay if I talk about the bulleted ones or no?
Okay. Yes.
Very few.
Okay.
Summer youth employment. This is a tremendously important program. However, it has more funding than it has ever had before. However, it doesn't accommodate every single youth in New York City. So it could use more funding. It's not, it doesn't greatly need more funding. I will suggest that it be on the list, but it be on the bottom. We don't want to, we want to, we want to make sure that it stays as a priority and that there's constant work to get more funding. Work, Learn, Grow program, which is a youth DYCD. This builds off the experiences for SYP, summer youth employment, and it's career development. And it's a relatively new program. I think it was new last year. Is that right, May? And
Well, maybe more than a year, but now.
but relatively new.
Or I think the name changed, but it's relatively new.
Okay, it's definitely something that's important for youth in our community. Definitely need more resources. Runaway and homeless youth programs, we never knew about it before. We actually found out in the budget consultations about Streetworks having this contract. We never worked with them before. Sounds like they're not in terrible shape, but they can certainly use more money. Cornerstones are always on the list. They're year-round programs in NYCHA centers for both young people and adults for their families. They are funded, they will exist. They can always use more funding, but it's not imminent disaster without it. Compass programs are after-school programs. They are well funded, but they don't have funded to be available for every youth that needs them. Seniors still have a need. Particularly because of isolation, particularly because of telehealth, for tablets, particularly internet-ready tablets. And case management is needed for seniors so that they don't have to wait. Right now, there is a waiting time for seniors. And it looks like, I don't know if can you go down further, Larissa? Social
I
work.
didn't see it on the bottom. I just,
right there.
oh, there. Okay.
Social workers in the schools. We know we have schools where we have as many as 50% of the youth are in temporary housing. And we know there's a great need, for, particularly because we have so many vulnerable youth, for social workers. This program, the Fair Futures, this, Larissa, is kind of what you were referring to about youth aging out of foster care.
Yes,
Very, very needed program.
absolutely.
And Department of Health, also home care, so that there's not a waiting list. And if that's it, if you want to go through the ones from last year. Do you want to go through those, May, or how do you want to do it?
Sure. So there are 13 from last year, and they're all. Would any of them fall off?
I think a number of them we have not heard continued need. I think the workforce ones we can definitely take off. I actually had a meeting today with Gasper from the Recycle.
No, I mean fall off in the end.
Oh yeah, there were. It's likely, but I would take. I mean, I would suggest that some of these come off so that you can prioritize other things.
Oh, I see. Okay. So these are 13 from last year, and I mean, all of these programs are continuing this year. So it's a question of, do we want to, have any follow-up? So the question is that the community board, just to clarify, I think Susan referred to it, the community board gets 25, right? But we have, quite a number of committees. I don't know how many parties the other so all in all, when the executive committee does collating, they may be collating more than 25 when you add up all the committees. And so that some will have to drop off. So our other strategy is to make sure the ones that we don't want to fall off, are put to the top. So that's not to say that, one is more needed than the other, but it's just a strategy. In addition to the other strategy that Susan mentioned about bringing more money into the community, like, from especially in areas that don't have enough money. So the total amount of money is more. Okay, so they are, so they're sort of divided into like buckets or categories, and they just fell this way last year. So there's a bunch. So the first, I'll look at my paper. The first, I mean, they don't have to be this way, but that's just the way we voted on it last year. The first, oh no, it's not true. Yeah, so what we have is the priority, and then we have the agency. So the agency tells you a little bit about the population. Do people know their agency names? So the first one, for example, is increased funding for senior meals and kitchen staff in senior centers and home delivered meals. So it's the Department for the Aging. So that all is for senior citizens, no matter. So that's the way the funding works. It's by agency, and sometimes agency will tell you the population it serves, but sometimes it will be seniors, sometimes it'll be youth, sometimes it'll be all age groups, sometimes it'll be like homeless, especially if it's DHS, and so on and so forth. So what we need to do is to decide if these are the correct order. Since is everyone, but many of you are looking at this for the first time, or have not, or were not here last year to see this. So should I just read the titles of each one? Can I get some reaction here if that's what you'd like to see? I can't see anything right now.
Can I just ask, then you talk about adding new ones after you go through the list?
There are new ones to be added, like the runaway homeless youth?
Absolutely. I think work, learn, grow is a new one. Runaway and homeless youth is new.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Department of Health Home Care is new. And after we finish these, we still have the 2 capital. I don't think there'll be much controversy on them.
Okay, but it's 25 expense, right?
Right, now we're just doing a 25 expense.
Okay, so capital is an additional thing. Okay, so let's just look at these 13. And yes, okay, why don't I go through them, and Susan, if you could also give context about which ones are like sort of like very well funded and won't lose funding,
Sure.
Although nothing is guaranteed, guys, so you know that, right? As we have learned. Yeah. Okay, so the first one is the number one is funding for senior meals and kitchen staff salaries in senior centers. So that's the food that people eat at the centers, and as well as home delivered meals. So that usually for homebound seniors, that's the meals that get delivered to their homes. It's 1 and 2.
Yeah, so I think the providers always need more money. Some of the seniors centers now, ask the seniors to contribute. So, I don't know that they need to be 1 and 2, but they certainly are still needs.
Yeah, I mean, some senior centers have always asked, to contribute, and still it's not enough. I mean, they don't contribute a lot. It's like, maybe $1, but still, it's not enough. And then what we're saying here, Susan, is that no one is ever turned away, right? So
Right.
that means that if they're not turning away anybody.
I don't think that's true. I think some seniors, they have a certain number of slots and they would like to expand and haven't been able to.
Okay, because you said no seniors are denied a meal through this program. So does that mean that they're not turned away no matter, and then they just have to like find more food or money?
Oh, that's the home delivery, right? Oh, they're both saying that. Yeah, they're based on number of slots, so I guess they'll feed other people that come, but they aren't necessarily funded for the extra meals.
Okay, so they somehow have to always dig for more money.
Right.
Okay. And so therefore they could always use more money. Okay. Okay, so number 3 is related to youth. It's increased funding to expand access to after-school programs. That's for elementary and high school students. So there are several programs here.
Yeah. They fall in the category, they will be funded, but they could use more funding.
Mhm. Okay, the next one is NORCs, which is the naturally occurring retirement communities. There are 6 of them in CB3.
And they are listed in the appendix.
Right. Okay, number 5 is increased funding for more safe haven and stabilization beds. So these are for street homeless, and I believe it is for street homeless adults, right?
They are for street homeless adults because the youth beds are DYCD.
Okay.
And this is incredibly important. There are people, people think that everyone's refusing service, or, a lot of people living on the street are refusing services. They're refusing beds in shelters that they feel aren't safe, and they get on waiting lists for safe havens that have like 1 or 2 people in a room. And, they could be on a wait list for 3-4 months.
Yeah, people don't like the congregate shelters, the one where there are like many people in a room.
They feel
but
they're not safe. They aren't
right.
safe, and they are not safe. I can tell you, I deal with some of the issues. We've had several at 3rd Street Men's Shelter in the last month. And, one where we had 3 of the residents ganging up on a 4th one. They aren't safe.
Yeah. So there is funding. And then, the thing is that, as you all know, or some of you know, the mayor canceled some in this community, right? So we need it more than ever. Because, anyway. Okay, so then that, okay, number 6 is funding for the Manhattan Outreach Consortium homeless outreach workers. They're the ones who reach out to the street homeless and try to get them services or eventually into a safe haven, and they just need more people.
And
what else? Yeah.
I would suggest this be one of the highest ones.
Mm-hmm.
If we have a crisis and we're not meeting the crisis.
Okay. Yeah, there's just not that many, and they feel they need more to a team these days too, right? They can't just like one person work by themselves.
So they actually go out in teams of 3 now in most of the parks for safety reasons.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then the 7th one is back to the youth programs. So these are the Beacon programs that some of you might be familiar with them. They're school-based programs in the community centers, and they just that's there's a lot of youth in our community. Okay, that's the 8th one is SYEP, the Summer Youth Employment Program, and if you're familiar with that too, as you all know, it is based on a lottery. You may need a job and you may be qualified for a job, but if you don't get into the lottery, you're not getting a job. And this program has been in existence for 60 years. I mean, I was in SYP when I was a kid, and there was no lottery at the time, but there was a lottery now. And even though there was funding, one year the mayor canceled it anyway. After a lot of outrage, I think it was sort of reinstituted in a halfway kind of way at the last minute. So it should be in our district needs. And I think it's more important too, because I think because of our low income community needs this. Many kids need to be financially independent of their parents. that's just the reality for our community. So this actually helps them. So, okay, let me go. Okay, so there's more youth. One is called Bridging the Gap program. That's social work. It's number 9. It's through, actually it's an education program from the Department of Education. It's adding social workers and support staff to schools with a high homeless population.
I'd say that's really important for our community, and we really need money in that.
Mhm. Okay, next is the school nurses. We need more nurses in every school. I think it's just 1 in every school building, not school.
Right.
Okay. Okay, next one is jobs. It's an HRA program. Is that a new thing or it was last year?
That was on last year, but I would take it off because the workforce development has shrunk considerably. They actually need more clients. So I would suggest you take off 11 and 12.
They don't get that many clients anymore?
That's what's happening. They need to build up their clients right now.
Oh, okay. So workforce development is training, right? Oh, okay.
Right. It's for, it's helping people to help them before, the primary work before they're able to start, job search.
Oh, okay. So that's both 11 and 12?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and number 13 is the Cornerstone Program. So those are the community programs that are in the NYCHA complexes. Some of you may know them or go to them. And they have all kinds of programs. They're for the NYCHA residents, but also the surrounding neighborhood.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? We're proposing to, Susan made a proposal to take out 11 and 12 because workforce development needs to increase their client base, which actually makes sense to me.
And I would propose adding the runaway and homeless youth and the work, learn, grow.
Okay, all right. Is there a description of that on the bottom somewhere? Oh, in the notes?
They're in the bullets.
They're in the bullets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Below DYCD.
Oh, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Arnett?
Yeah, if we take it out, and this is for the following year. Okay, Susan, this is a question for Susan. Did anyone discuss when they think they're going to be able to, when they're looking to see they have more clients, that they understand the trend? What's the reason are they saying for the decline in the workforce?
Well, first of all, these are in addition to our provider workforce. This is in addition to Henry Street and the Door and the other Lower East Side workforce programs. They're looking, so what they're looking is reimagining what they're doing, and they're looking at maybe trying to do training and things like have all the nonprofit organizations maybe collaborate in both training and internal hiring. That's one of the things I know they're looking for, but they're looking at different ways of doing things. We don't know what those different ways are yet.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that is what I have heard too. It's, and people, that is actually what I have heard, Okay, any other questions? Let me, I can't, let me look at the list. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. And so, okay, so we're taking those 2 out, and then we're going to add in runaway homeless youth and the Work, Learn, Grow program. And Oh, Larissa, they come from the bullet points
Okay,
at the
so
top.
I'm going to go ahead and set track changes on this if I can.
Okay.
And I'll move those out. And should any particular order for those two?
You guys need to decide that.
Work, learn, grow, runaway homeless youth.
Okay, so bear with me. Make sure sorry. I've got a
Well,
lot
you
of
could
windows open.
group runaway homeless youth somewhere near the other homeless, just to have buckets for us to look at.
Mhm.
Put it near the other homelessness budget priorities.
See if we can do track changes. Bear with me. I'm just going to mute myself for just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, May. So we're at those two. Do we want to vote on which one should go before the other?
Well, in
Work,
terms
learn,
of
grow versus runaway. Which one should be number 11? Which one should be number 12? Or does it matter right now?
no, I was saying just okay. Work, learn, grow is under SYP, and then the runaway homeless youth. Just group it with the other near the other homeless homeless funding programs. Are they all in sort of one place? They seem to, I recall, aren't they sort of
Kind of,
just
yeah.
so that we can
See.
like,
I
go
could
down
put
to
it right-
5.
Go down to 5.
Got 5 where it says safe havens and
For
just
okay, put underneath that, I can put the runaway homeless, and I can put the work, learn, grow under number 3. How's that?
no, put the work, learn, grow near SYEP. You already
Yeah,
did, right?
SYEP. No, I'm moving it up right now.
I saw the work, learn, grow under SYEP. Oh, okay.
No. There we go.
Just so that we can visualize it.
So this will be now number 9. There we go.
Okay, and then put the runaway homeless youth somewhere near the Manhattan Outreach and the safe havens.
Here we go. Increase safe haven.
Yeah,
I
or
can
could
put it-
you? Okay.
Hmm?
You can put it
Well-
on track changes, but could you turn off the show changes?
Okay, sure.
So then it's easy for us to read.
Sure. Hang on a second. Okay, that should be good. Oh, am I on the right page? Hold on. Okay. Okay, so you want the runaway near homeless.
Which I thought it was further up.
Yep, I believe you're right. Here we go. Under safe haven, do you want to make it number 6 then?
Sure.
Okay. Hang on a second, let me clean that up. Okay. There we go. Okay. You want me to put the agency for this one as well?
We'll do that later. We
Okay.
know, yeah.
Okay, so those two have been added.
Okay. Let's go back up and see what we have.
So we have senior meals,
More seniors.
delivered meals
Yes.
for after school programs in Newark, Safe Haven, runaway youth, increase for Manhattan Outreach Consortium, beacon programs, SYEP, work, learn, grow, bridging the gap, and then funding for school nurses. That's it.
You know,
Cornerstone, sorry.
yeah, but
What didn't
everyone
come
can.
off?
Huh?
Hold on, what was supposed to go?
Oh, what was supposed to come off?
Something something didn't come off.
The
And it should have.
HRA. It's called,
HRA came off.
and then the
Where did I get
wait,
13?
what was it? I have it. Okay, I have what was supposed to come. Jobs to build on and bridge training. So just put it on the, don't like totally delete it, just stick it on the bottom. I mean, stick it like all the way at the end of the document.
Oh, I deleted those. Okay.
Okay,
I have
that's
the
all right,
track
that's all
changing.
right.
It's okay.
Okay,
We have
you
the track
deleted them.
changes.
Okay, so there should still be 13, right?
Oh yeah, there are 13. I thought for some reason I thought there were 12, but no, there are 13 and it's still 13. Okay.
Okay.
I was not counting correctly.
Okay, everyone please chime in. But I have another suggestion to move all of the 3 homeless funding projects to the top.
I would agree with you. This is such a huge need in our city right now.
Yeah, that's right. Which one should be
It's only
first?
gonna
I
get
don't know,
worse.
but it's just the 3 that we have, the ones for the outreach workers, the safe havens, and the runaway homeless youth, all to the top, all to the first 3. Oh, is it there?
No, I can move it. If that's no one else had a comment?
Yeah, does anyone have a comment or an objection? If so, you should raise your hand.
No.
Okay.
I'm just going to put them in random order.
Yes.
I'm not going to put them in any particular order. So I guess we will vote afterwards.
Mhm. Oh, and also the runaway homeless youth.
And run it. Yeah, those 3
So
will
it's
move up.
5,
4.
6.
So 4 are moving up.
No, 3 of safe havens, runaway homeless youth, and Manhattan Outreach Consortium.
Does that bridge the gap? That was the fourth one you wanted to move up? No,
Wait, bridge.
hold on. So
Nurse at-
let's go back to the top. Let's see what I have right now. So right now we have at the top 3, increased funding for Safe Haven. Number 2 is Runaway Youth, and number 3 is increased funding for Manhattan Outreach Consortium.
Yeah, those are the 3 I think that May was talking about.
Okay, great. Okay, so those are the top 3. right
Okay,
now.
so in general, we have things for seniors, we have things for youth, and then we have programs like after school and is it seniors? What's next bucket? Seniors or youth or any suggestions?
For me, it would be youth. I
Mhm.
think should come next, although I'm usually the one advocating for all the senior stuff to go to the top.
Okay, are there any particular youth programs? If not all of them?
I think nurses or social workers, those two would be my top choices, just simply because the demographics of the schools are changing drastically this year.
And after school programs, please.
Okay, after school, okay. Oh, okay. You mean the compass and the corner? Okay, the after school, right? Yeah, so those 3,
Yeah, that'd be great.
school nurses, social workers, and after school.
After school, okay,
Yeah,
let's move
thank
those up to
you.
4, 5,
And we
and
said the
6.
after school was for elementary and high school, right?
The compass, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, we're just playing around. We're just moving things to see what it looks like. And then
Okay.
we'll see what it looks like and then we'll decide.
Hold on, let me find compass. Okay, so compass is going to move up from the bullet points. That was in the bullet points.
I think it was in before also, wasn't
It
it?
was in before
It was-
also, yes.
Okay, oh, there is one
Yeah,
more.
it was both in the bullet points and in last year's program.
Oh, it is. There it is. Got it. It was in number 6, so it's going to move up to number 4 for now. And then read. Okay. Social workers, hold on. Okay, we have those 3 moved up.
Susan, I want to ask you a question about Fair Futures. I didn't go to that meeting. Is that a program that's being funded here right now?
Yes, it is being funded now.
I mean, there are such programs in CV3, right? And they
Yes.
say that they need more funding or?
It's a new program, yes, that it does need more funding.
And it's only for youth and foster care.
Right.
Okay.
It's an area that is very forgotten and makes a huge difference. I mean, a lot of kids are just falling through the gaps at that point.
Oh, so that would be like a 14th item, right?
No, I think that was one of the ones.
One of the 13.
Was it one of the bullets?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. That is adding another one.
Mhm.
Let's add it.
How do you want to, what position do you want to put it at? And how do you want to word it?
Does anyone here have any opinion on where this Fair Futures program should be? It's a public-private partnership, and it provides coaches and tutors and education, employment and housing specialists for youth involved in foster care, ages 11 to 26.
These are kids that I'm gonna say have a huge failure rate in just growing up successfully, getting housing, getting jobs.
Oh, okay, maybe they belong somewhere. So they're pretty at risk for a
Yes,
lot of things later on down the line.
Do we want to put them above school nurses then?
That might be so. Yeah, let's put it there now. We can look at everything later and after we
Okay.
settle down, but just put it there now.
Sorry, can't spell tonight.
Oh, there's a whole paragraph on it. You can cut and paste.
Oh, is it on this document?
It's in the,
Oh,
it's in the bullet points
Sorry, I
under
must have missed that.
ACS. It's right below, it's near the end of the bullet points, right before Department of Health.
There we go. ACS Fair Futures. Okay,
Yes.
got it. How did I not remember that? Okay.
Right. Okay, so we have that, and then after that we have the nurses and oh no, you're still
Oh, wait, no, no,
wait,
no.
wait,
hold
wait,
on, this
let me
didn't-
finish this.
Should be number 5. Formatting.
Yeah, just put a
Being so
5
nice.
there.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm just gonna leave it as 5.
Okay.
I'll try to fix it while you guys
Okay,
figure
so
out.
so you got school nurses, and then you
Mhm.
had social workers somewhere, right?
Yeah, we put in social workers. That was after.
After nurses?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't see it. Oh,
There we go. Okay, now we've got it in correct order.
okay,
So yes,
nurses.
so we
Oh,
have
Bridget, okay,
increased funding for bridging the gap program.
okay. And then there was the after school. Right, Anna said we should have after school. I
Sorry,
believe it was
cat-
Anna.
cat
It was either
emergency.
Anna or is that correct, Larissa? After school?
Sorry, slight cat emergency.
Oh, okay.
Cat cut out of his cone. Okay, I'm sorry. What's next?
After school?
After school. You want to
Yeah.
put that after bridge the gap?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was it's called the Compass
No, we
program.
put that in. Did we put
Okay.
compass in? We put compass in.
Okay,
Yeah.
you put it in there.
Access to after school programs. Yeah, number 4.
it's number 4 already.
Oh, okay, okay. And then Should we be talking about the seniors and their food?
Yes,
Their-
yes.
And their meals?
We do not want them dropping off.
This meals at the senior center as well as the home delivered meals?
Do we
It
have
was
any
two-
input on which is more in need? I know they were both needing a little.
Is that a question for Susan?
Yes, please, Susan.
I can't tell you which is, they both have funding. They both can
Mhm.
use more funding. Neither of them are dire.
Okay.
Okay.
Especially since the pandemic, just having the seniors being able to get together, share a meal, share a conversation. I think it's really missing, although we're still at risk.
Okay, then there's the Beacon program. Oh, okay, there's Beacon programs, there's Cornerstone programs, there's SYEP and Work, Learn, Grow. So SYEP and Work, Learn, Grow are related to jobs for youth and some training, although SYEP I think is the bigger program. You know that, and then they on the other, and then also there's the Beacon programs and the Cornerstone programs. So DYC, so according to the notes here, Susan, DYCD has increased funding for Beacon programs and Compass programs.
They have increased both of those. They did last year, I believe.
Okay.
And SYEP has more funding than it's ever had in existence. It still can use more. It still can use more, but it has
Yes.
more than it's ever had.
Okay. And they said last year they were able to fill all the slots. Like they didn't have students, like they didn't
No.
have like untaken job slots, did they?
They said that they still turn someone away. She said they could still use more money so that they will never have to turn anyone away.
Okay.
At this point, they also have a hard time finding the job openings for the kids to have jobs. And that's also nothing we can do anything about, but that's part of the problem with not being able to accommodate everyone.
Oh, the finding the employers, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Well, I think the SYEP and the Work, Learn, Grow should go above the Beacon and the Compass, although I don't have a very strong feeling about it, but I
would agree. I think
you know, if Beacons and Compasses were like in dire
Yeah.
needs or being cut or so dire, you know, like at real, because those are like important programs that serve a lot of people, like different ages and, you know, and their sites. But I wouldn't want to see those sites cut or anything like that. But if that's not going to happen, then I say SYEP and Work, Learn, Grow should be a little bit higher. I don't know if anyone has any comments on that. Agree, disagree?
You're saying putting up SYP above the Beacon? I was losing connection.
Oh, so
here.
yeah, so there were four. There's four. So there's the SYEP and the Work, Learn, Grow. And then there's the Beacon programs and the Cornerstone programs. So you generally know what they are, right, Arnett?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, everything is important. I'm not saying one is more important than the other, but I would say that
funding wise.
because
needs are
funding
greater.
wise, like you know, not in, you know, they more kids could get, they could, if they had more funding, then more kids could get jobs. and they really need jobs. So that's why I say that the SYEP and the Work, Learn, Grow program should go next. And then after that is the Beacon program and the Compass program. And then, I mean, not the Compass program, the Cornerstones. So Susan is saying that Beacons and Cornerstones did receive more funding last year from DYCD. Did they say anything about it this coming year, or it will be at least, will it receive even more funding or at least be the same?
Well, at this point, the current year has more funding, which is the comments in red. They didn't say it would be increased again next year. We don't know that.
Okay.
But there also doesn't seem to be danger of decreasing funding.
Oh, okay.
It's not like 3K that seems to be on the block.
Okay. So Arnett, what do you say? Yeah, since you made a comment.
I'm still processing it because I'm still processing because the Beacon also is around an enrollment and those trends, because a lot of their after school programs are based in our schools, or their programming is based in schools. So I'm just trying to think. I guess I can't think of it. I think SYEP going above that and keep moving the way. I think I agree with what you said. I can't find a reason not to. I agree with your comment. That's basically my comment.
Okay. All right. So we're at the end, right? I mean, we put them all in order, right?
Well,
In this
no,
initial
well,
order? Oh,
just
was there
these
some-
two, which one should go first? SYEP or Work, Learn, Grow?
Oh,
I
SYEP.
think SYEP, yeah. So I think that serves a greater need because there are still
That's a
still
summer
kids who are
job,
not
right?
getting spots.
Right, so Work, Learn, Grow is, Work, Learn, Grow is during the school year, and it's for the current SYEP participants. So if you got so it looks, I mean, from actually my experience also is that
Mhm.
if you got a summer job at SYEP, then you have the opportunity to get into the Work, Learn, Grow program as well during the school year.
Okay, so we're putting it
But
above. the
SYEP is a bigger program because not all
Gotcha.
students will work during the school year, but
Gotcha.
lots of students will work during the summer.
So we're putting it above the Beacon program.
Yeah. And as far whether it's Beacon or Cornerstone, that I don't have any opinion about it at all.
Okay.
Well, which one, but it's just below
Okay.
SYEP and Work, Learn, Grow. If anyone else has an opinion about it, they can voice it, but I do not.
Now let me undo that and see what that was.
Cornerstones are always in NYCHA buildings, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's important to the NYCHAs, right?
Yeah,
Or to the NYCHA residents, I mean, to have a Cornerstone in their building?
they're extremely important.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. Yes, I just wanted to confirm. So in that
Hold on,
case.
so Beacon goes to the bottom and it's number 13.
So are we saying, so we should put, if we're compare Cornerstone and Beacon, Cornerstone is like a little higher than Beacon?
Hold on, let
I
me
would
find-
agree.
Yeah, you would agree? Okay. All right, so let's go back to should we go back to the top?
Okay.
Okay, so
There
this
you go.
is where we get into the finer things about, we kind of have almost everything like in a bucket, in buckets. So people should look at the different buckets and see if, we want to switch things around a bit. So the first three are related to homelessness. Right now it's safe havens, runaway homeless youth, and Manhattan outreach. Should that order be switched or left as it is? Any suggestions? Or Susan, I know you know a lot about this, but do you have a particular
I would-
opinion to give us?
Yeah, I hate to say this, but I would, I think it's really important to have the safe havens very high, but also maybe I would put them after the other two because providers do need to answer RFPs for them. And then what happens is then they get pinched for every penny, saying you can't have money for this, you can't have money for that. But the first step in the process is somebody answering an RFP. So for that reason, I would maybe make that one number 3 out of these top 3.
Okay.
Okay.
And so then in terms of Manhattan outreach and runaway homeless youth programs, is one of them.
I'm going to tell you, I'm biased. I work with Manhattan Outreach almost daily. I think they are the most amazing people in the world. So I'm too biased to give you an opinion.
Oh, okay.
And these needs are all straight from them.
Mhm.
Just my 2 cents. If Susan feels we should move the safe haven down, I would move the outreach consortium to 1, only because we heard a lot from the shelter tonight that the need was not as great. And this really is a big need right now.
Well, no, their
It's
need is
important.
great, but in terms of
for funding, yeah,
yeah,
I think their need is very great.
Runaway.
Well, I also think,
one of the
yeah.
big needs in this
Mhm.
is more residential services,
Yep.
which they don't have anywhere near enough funding for.
And they could use a better building too, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think also Manhattan outreach, the need here is what they would do with it is very specific, and it sounds like they could use it right away, right? And it would, so the others are, it takes a while before it gets used, or there are several steps to go. So yeah, I agree. Manhattan outreach, runaway homeless youth, and then safe havens. Does anyone else have an objection? Anyway, if anyone has an objection to that, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised right now.
Okay, so that's the new order. Manhattan outreach number 1, runaway and homeless youth number 2, and safe haven number 3.
Okay, so let's move on to the next bucket, which, okay, there's 2 youth programs. Okay, increase funding to expand after school program. What does that mean? Further study needed? Means they don't think it's needed?
So they answered almost everything that way. I think it's because, I don't know, they're not doing the work properly. I was going to suggest when we finish all this that we talk about next year how not just vote on it, but maybe have follow up with these agencies afterward. I feel like someone once said to me, when you vote on budget priorities, you're making a shopping list, but then you still need to go shopping. So I was going to suggest that particularly because of these responses, that maybe we have the agencies come and speak to it.
Okay. So, I mean, I kind of think we should leave it as it is, 4 and 5. Does anyone here have an opinion about that? You know, so the next one would be the increase funding to expand access to after-school programs for elementary and high school. And number 5 is the Fair Futures.
Agree.
Unless, you know, I mean, I wasn't at the DYCD meeting, so if, you know, Susan, if you were there and, you know, have any other insight.
You know, they tend to say we have what we need. So you have to kind of read between the lines.
Oh, okay. Okay, so number 6 and 7 are okay, 6 is, next one is nurses, and after that is social workers. So you haven't read here, this needs more funding. What does that mean? Oh, that's the funding for especially to add social workers to school with high homeless populations.
Yes, that came up in the, but that they even admitted that they need more funding. And that,
Hey, Arnett, do you know about this for, you know, for CEC1? Did they talk about this?
We talked about the need for more social workers. What's curious, I mean, what's a little, we have money earmarked for that, and we were trying to get from the DOE. As far as we was trying to get the information from DOE as if the money was released from the state, so that we can figure out how much money we actually would have, and so that we can add on to what we needed based on what was already earmarked for it. But the answer we got, that I forgot, we did get the amount, we did get the number of, the amount of what was earmarked, but we haven't received the funding as of yet. And they were working on it. I forgot the amount. I think, I can't remember off the top of my head what the actual amount was.
Okay. All right. So we're specifically talking about this one program called Bridging the Gap.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which is a social workers and to support staff to schools that have a high homeless population.
Yeah, that'd be like 188 and PS 15.
Oh, okay, no, I'm sorry. I was talking about in general about the monies earmarked for for social workers, but not particularly, not just for Bridging the Gap, not just for that programming, because there were earmarked in general, and then there was earmarked, then there was programs that specifically targeted like schools like 188 with the high transient students. We didn't discuss that because we were discussing in general. I don't remember the particulars on where we were with Bridging the Gap, but I would put that above the nurses for right now. As a budget priority, because with the nurses, it's having one nurse for a school is still it's not enough. So the actual advocacy is around trying to get more staffing or more availability to nurses, and also room for, like, there's some schools don't even have a place to put a nurse. So it's a little more involved in ensuring that every school building has a nurse, in addition to, but what we're seeing is a trend of children coming from the pandemic and COVID having a real need for social work. And although the nurses are very essential because we're still dealing with COVID and you really do need someone on site, children are not really able to learn because they're having difficulty just adjusting to being in school with mask and not mask, and you know, in and out, people being sick. So the social workers actually need it immediately, and the nurses, I mean, we do need them, but there's still a little more, there's a little more
Yes.
conversations in the, you know, that we need to have,
Yeah.
and to ensure that, you know, even just having one nurse in a school building, we don't think that that may be enough when you have 3 or 4 schools in that one particular building. So
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so good. So let's move. Okay, so yeah, I think what you're saying is makes a lot of sense. And so let's put bridging the gap before school nurses.
Also, school nurses are going to have a lot more people advocating for more nurses than we're going to have people advocating for the social workers.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, great. Okay, so let's move on to the meals. Okay, there's one thing on meals, and then the next kitchen. Okay, there's 2 things on meals. One is the kitchen staff, and the other one is the home delivered. I don't have an opinion about which one should be.
And neither of them are a dire emergency.
Oh, okay. Okay, how about the Norks? Okay, Norks is next. Okay, Norks is next, and then after that is SYEP and Work, Learn, Grow. What's after Work, Learn, Grow? Oh, okay. The beacon, okay. And what happened to the Cornerstone?
Are they at the bottom? Yep, they're there.
Okay, so we're gonna put Cornerstone above Beacon, but we're planning to put Cornerstone above Beacon. Didn't we say that?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Thank you. Where are you going? Go down. Go down.
After-
between.
Oh.
You go. She got it.
Between 12 and 13, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Just leave it alone. We can reformat later. Okay, and then and that's it, right? Wait, do we have more in the bottom?
The capital.
Oh, the capital, but in terms of expense, that was it. All right, okay. Okay, the capital, there are only 2.
There are 2, one from last year and one new one, which is, so we get 40 capital. So generally all the capital will fit. It's a question of ranking.
Okay, all right.
So I changed the explanation for the schools. You'll see that the answer last year was that there wasn't a seat need. So I changed it, the explanation to talk about the age of the schools. And I left in the last year from the reduced access for gym, arts and enrichment science labs, but took out the seats and added in the age of the schools.
Okay.
And then the senior center at 189 Allen, which I can tell you is a disaster. I got all that information from University Settlement, who runs the program.
Okay. Are we going to say it is unconscionable that they are not served? Is that going to be part of the budget document? Or is
Yes.
that, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
It is
Okay.
true.
It's a shame that they should
How
be in that
dare
kind
you
of
treat
condition.
seniors that way?
Yes,
I mean, the place
absolutely.
is terrible. It's terrible.
Okay, I thought we weren't supposed to be so emotional as what?
That's not emotional, it's strong.
It's not
unconscionable.
emotional. It's a very
No.
strong statement of
It's
fact.
a strong statement.
Okay. All right, so, okay, so we're going to vote now. Do we need to?
Are you going to keep the capital in this order?
Oh,
or
What
okay,
order
yeah,
are we gonna
yeah.
keep it?
They'll both end up, they won't drop off, right?
They won't drop off.
Okay.
So then is it really, Susan, is it really important the order?
Well,
If they're
one
both
could
gonna
be,
stay
one
on?
could be number 10 and the other could be number 35.
Gotcha. Because if I have my preference, I would say the Allen Street would be higher priority than the Essex Street School.
Well, yeah, they're in dire need, it seems, right?
Yeah. And the school
Yeah.
at this point, we're still trying to get an okay on extending the
There's so
preservation of
many,
the site.
there's so
Yeah.
many unknowns for the Essex Street School, whereas this is a definite urgent,
Yeah, I mean, we're not
concrete
gonna get
need.
funding for the Essex Street School this
Yeah.
coming year, but we
Yeah.
always need to have it in there, and we're working on,
For sure.
extension of the, we have getting the extension on the land.
But this is a concrete need.
Yeah, okay, I mean, I personally agree. I don't, if others disagree, please raise your hand. Yeah, I don't see any hands raised. So we'll put 189 Allen first and new school number 2.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything else?
That's it.
Okay, are we ready to vote? We don't
But
have
this is all
quorum.
copied, so don't worry about this. I'll get rid of
Okay,
that.
so so if we're ready to vote, we'll vote now. We don't have quorum, but we will, it will be moved at full board.
Has everyone seen this? Do I need to keep it up any longer for anyone?
I'm good. I don't need it anymore.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing.
All right, so it's 8:49. Okay, before we vote, were there any CEC or CAB reports that we need to hear?
Larissa needs to announce her announcement.
Okay, Larissa.
Okay, well, I'm very honored that I was selected to serve as the chair for the Gouverneur Community Advisory Board. We had a wonderfully successful meeting. I've set some pretty lofty goals for our group, one of which is going to be communication to the community. We're going to make sure, and thank you, Arnett. We are going to make sure that we have announcements that we bring to the community board during public session, more handouts and flyers. I'm also trying to coordinate with the leadership at Gouverneur to arrange speakers when needed to come before before the community board regarding different subjects, such as their first floor expansion. They've been trying to get an urgent care in that space forever, or possibly a diabetes center, an expansion of the World Trade Center. Their World Trade Center, by the way, is the only World Trade Center location for non-first responders in the city. So they have a very high need. They serve a large clientele, and it would be nice for them to have a larger space. But urgent care is something that's really important. They want to connect the urgent care patients to follow-up services with physicians there at Gouverneur. So it's everything great that's happening there. And I'm serving with a really nice group of ladies. I'm looking forward to it. So
Okay. Well, congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, they certainly need an urgent care. I know someone who had an accident. I
Yes.
walked there thinking there would be an urgent care and there wasn't,
No.
and then she had to go to Bellevue.
Yeah, and the
No.
and this physician's offices close very early. So
Mhm.
what do? I mean, you have there's very few Medicaid urgent cares that accept Medicaid patients or a sliding scale or a large number of insurances. They're very limited on these urgent cares. So the more we have, the better the better off we are in the community. So looking forward to putting us
Absolutely.
in front of our committee.
Absolutely. That is awesome. I'm asthmatic, and I almost was turned away
Yep.
in the middle of an asthma attack because there was no urgent care, and it was just so happened that I had my mom on the phone, and while I was texting her, and she called and spoke to someone because I had no breath to even speak. Like I couldn't, like even if I wanted to, I couldn't get anywhere. And then they didn't even call 911. So it was crazy. It was crazy. And just, like I said, thank God my mom was able to call. And that experience alone is, there's asthma is a really big issue, especially in our community with, there's highways and byways.
Yep.
It's not a lot of fresh air around here. So it's, just that urgent care, just maybe even just for asthmatics would be essential because that's life or death right there.
Absolutely. Well, putting the urgent care on the first floor and would and also they would be able to co-locate other other groups there in that first floor as well, because the urgent care would serve really after hours. So the expansion would also give the opportunity for other groups like the asthma care clinic that's there to expand. So it's a win-win for everybody. They don't have a proper space for their physical therapy right now. The World Trade Center could use more space. Asthma care, definitely. We just lost a whole bunch of trees on the East River, so our air's not getting any cleaner right now until the park's finished.
Okay.
But yep, okay, that's my
All right.
report.
Okay, great. Arnett, is there anything from CEC?
No, our next meeting is on the 13th. There's nothing to report now.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I don't think we have anyone here who will be giving any other reports for CABs or CECs. So we will have our final roll call and vote on the district needs and budget priorities.
Okay, so
Could
we're
I just
voting
ask
all.
Larissa,
Yes.
you just, not send the minutes, but just send that one list right away. You don't have to format
The
it.
district needs, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send it without the formatting. Absolutely. I'll send it right
Thank you.
after the meeting. Sure.
Thank you.
And budget priorities, right?
Well, the budget.
No, it is the
priorities-
budget.
But it is the
priorities,
budget priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the district need hasn't changed, so it's the same thing I sent you.
all right.
Okay, so final roll call vote. Maylee,
Yes.
Thomas Rose is absent. Larissa Schoenberg, yes. Anna Calderon, she had to drop off. David Crane is absent. Eric Diaz is absent. Larry Finn,
Yes.
thank you. Shirley Finnessy is absent. Deborah Glass. Alicia Lewis Coleman is absent. Laura Lugo absent. Heidi Schmidt happily absent with her new baby. Arnett Scott,
Yes.
great. Rodney Washington absent.
So Rodney's here.
Is he still here? Oh, so sorry, Rodney. I just saw you. Okay, Rodney, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And Carmen Perez, not here. Okay.
Yeah, just go through all the names.
Yep, that's it. Carmen is the last.
Okay. Okay. All right then. Okay, so that ends our meeting. The next full board meeting is You should have a notice. It's at the end of
I think
October.
it's the 25th. Let me
Right,
check
and
that.
there's an event, I'll send everyone, I'll forward the email to everyone. Eric Botcher is having an event about, I think it's about homelessness. So, and it's like a panel discussion. And I think it's next week. So it's a virtual Zoom panel discussion. So I'll forward it to all of you in case you're not on his mailing list. Okay, any questions? Okay, so that's the end of the meeting and we'll see you at full board. Susan,
good
are there
evening,
any
everyone.
other meetings to announce, right? That's it, right? Oh, she's not here. Okay,
Dropped
Nope,
off,
she's
yeah.
dropped off.
okay,
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 have a
so
great
see-
evening, everybody.
okay, have a nice evening. Okay,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.